So, welcome to the first episode of We Are Something Else.
Yeah.
Took us forever to come up with a name for that because we thought of a million things and then we figured Kevin Hart, you are something else. And then we kind of had Kevin Hart and
You are something else, you know that?
we had that, in common. We're like, all right, well, but we are something else.
Right.
That'll be different because everything else we decided was already taken.
Okay.
So.
And didn't want anything to be misconstrued, to be like, oh, they're just talking about sports, or oh, they're just talking about music, or oh, they're only talking about shoes.
Right. Because that was the main question we got was, well, what is it going to be about? Oh, everything.
I mean, all the stuff that we like to talk about.
Yeah.
You know.
So we figured the first show would be easy, somewhat easy, because I'm still struggling, but it's
right.
the top 5 albums of 2017.
I mean, and we're still the beginning of the year, so it's still kind of fresh, I think. Mm-hmm. So I figure it's a good topic.
Yeah.
It's a good topic.
Now, mind you, there's a lot of honorable mentions because I thought that 2 of my, for sure, top 5 albums were 2017, but it was end of 2016.
Right.
Which made my whole list jacked up.
Right.
All right, so before y'all get into it, I want to produce you while you're doing it real quick. Tell the people who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
You first.
My name is Chris Burkhaw, a.k.a. CB, the Bear Claw, the sexy Danish over here. So, yeah. And
up until then, I didn't have a real name, but I'm going to go with, we're going to go, this is Kaleo. That's my MC name.
There you go.
Stick with Kaleo. There we go.
Yeah. I'm the mystery voice, the guest for this evening. I go by the name of Supa Fly TnT.
There we go.
DJ, producer, podcaster now. You know what I mean?
There we go.
So,
let's do it. And we are at his house, his studio, which is amazing. Better than what I have.
Thank you for hosting us.
Oh, no, that's a blessing, man. I'm just trying to learn here and be a part of something.
And since we didn't let you in on the topic, now you know the topic.
Exactly.
So you can pitch since you're a DJ.
Hey,
there we go. You can pitch in what you played the most.
And you're doing albums?
Yeah.
And then we're also tying, and you can talk singles too, but we're also tying in top 5 albums of our lifetime as well.
Wow.
That's going to be the second. That was the hardest part. That's the hardest part. That was.
Yeah. No, because that was I thought doing 1 year was a tough topic. Then I actually went back because I listened to so many different types of music that then thinking about my entire lifetime, trying to narrow it down that was tough. It was tough. So
yeah, I was supposed to do 5. I mean, I've got 10, but the top 5 are what really matter, and everything else like honorable mention. Oh, that was dope. But yeah, it was tough. So we can do.
But I'm confident in my top 5 at least from 2017.
Yeah, mine after a certain point. There was a lot of music because I even went through Wikipedia to figure out everything that was released in 2017.
Y'all about to make me go through my
and
phone,
I went through there and I was like,
yeah,
I forgot that was released.
Right.
And I'm like, well, who was that? Because they also rank,
True.
like star wise,
right,
how the albums were in 2017. So I did listen to a couple of new things last night, and I was like, I'm gonna stick with what I.
And I full disclosure, it's not like I listen to everything.
Same here.
It's not like I listen to absolutely everything, but for what I did listen to, the 5 that I narrowed it down to are the ones that stood out. And I do think that I might have a couple on here that you may also have.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I do believe that I have, maybe 1 or 2 on here that you definitely don't, and that would, and that would be where the magic of listening to music and what you like, what other people like, all that kind of stuff comes in.
And hopefully, once we get this platformed out to social media and give people a voice to comment on, they might throw some things out there that I didn't think about, or maybe I should re-listen to.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, with the it was the 14th anniversary of College Dropout.
Oh.
I feel so old.
So I literally, so I was on the road a lot today. I listened to the entire thing, and I'll be honest, it had been some years before I did a all the way listen through, and I literally every track I was like, oh my god, classic, classic, and it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, and that wasn't even an album I was thinking about when I was going over my all time. And I was like, oh well. Good thing we're not having that show yet.
Yo, that album made me feel old when I found that out the other day, and I texted my man. I was like, "Yo, College Dropout came out, 14 years ago." that's longer than we were been in K through 12.
Right.
I remember where I was the night I first saw the Through the Wire video.
Word, yeah.
And I really,
yeah.
And I felt bad because I was head over heels for Jay. Like Jay was like my man, Rockefeller.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I didn't follow the production side of Rockefeller to really know. I was like,
I had no idea that he had his hands in so much of Rockefeller.
And then even the Ghost production.
Before that,
but
like the Mad Rapper.
Yeah, that's but
all kinds of stuff.
I never knew that. So I had to go back to listen. I was like, that's got Kanye written all over it. Like, and it's not even, he doesn't even get credit for it.
Right.
The stuff with Beanie Siegel,
oh my God.
the stuff that he did with Freeway.
Even in at the end of College Dropout, because the last track's like 13 minutes long.
That's always I can listen.
Man, and he's giving you all that insight, exactly. Right? And he's talking basically, if he didn't have these connections, who knows, like whether he would even have a legacy? Like who knows whether any of this stuff that we look at now is like actually like Kanye, because Kanye is one of those artists. As much as he's aware of that, and a lot of people like to give him flack for it, like it's real. Like he's gonna be the same way that our parents talk about certain artists from their day.
Right.
We're gonna be able to talk about Kanye in that sense because he's done that. Like he actually has made history. And regardless of what he's done in the last number of years, which is more comical, maybe, he's left a mark. He's made a stamp.
And
no question.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast with Mace, and Mace was talking about how he knew Kanye way back when, and he knew from the jump Kanye had a plan. He knew how he was going to get there. He knew what he was going to wear when he got there. And then the next level, so he knew Kanye was going to have longevity compared to other people. But when I look at, like, even with Kanye now, I think the ranting is what kills people's vibe about Kanye.
And most people don't like people gave LeBron a lot of crap a little while ago when he was talking about I am a basketball genius and blah blah blah. Like people don't want you to be self-aware of that, or they want you to be more humble about it. When in reality, there's nothing to say that you need to be humble about it. But people just don't. It generally rubs a lot of people the wrong way. And I understand it.
I watched the No ID interview that they did on High 97, and he talked about how Kanye has been that way. That's the only Kanye he knows. Like he's walking up to people telling him he's gonna be Michael Jackson in like 1995. You know what I mean? And it's just like, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He had that, he had that confidence in himself that. I'm sure all of us wish we could have just a modicum of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, because it's one of those things to be all talk, but he's actually backed up pretty much everything that he said.
Absolutely.
I think the accident for sure changed that whole perception of like,
urgency.
You only got one life to live, and we're going right now is the time. So 14 years for college drop. Good grief! Like.
Yeah, dude, no, it's funny because to me, being a 30-year-old, at this point, when this came out, this was one of our albums that we rode around to back in high school, like going from track practice to soccer practice and all the stuff that we were doing. We had open lunch at Gaithersburg, so riding over to the mall, like this was one of the albums that we just had on repeat. And to think back and be made aware of how long ago that was.
Birth of the soul sound, right? That's what.
Absolutely. I remember. So when College Dropout came out, I had just graduated, and I was already working. I was working at UPS, and I was getting up at like 2 a.m, and I remember like every morning putting on Spaceships.
Oh my God, that got me through. That got me through.
That is how I rode to work every single night. And so till this day, that song is like ingrained in that work experience. And just the whole point of being a college dropout. Now I was a college graduate, but I was working where I did not want to work. And it was like, that just spoke to my soul. You know what I mean?
That even to start off with was that like a gospel hymn? And just lead straight into it, like.
Well, that's the sample is Marvin Gaye. That's
right.
It's not. Now I can't think of the song. I'll continue. I don't want to derail.
But yeah, from start to finish,
Distant Lover.
That's okay. Start to finish, the album was just, 14 years. Yeah, amazing. All right. So 2017
Yeah.
brought us a lot of
There was some heat.
and then it brought us a lot of familiar faces back to the game.
Yeah,
And
it's true. It's true.
some disappointments, some surprises for sure, because I gave a lot of new music some chances this year, and
Can I ask two questions? Are you talking about one genre, or is this all genres? And then, do you have any set criteria that you all base your decisions on?
So my criteria was if I can listen from start to finish more than once without skipping and interpret the album differently every time that I heard it. So that gives, puts it up there like, okay, this was a great album. And then I skipped everything else. I listened to everything. So I just so happens whatever fell in the list just was what it was, just stood out. But John Mayer was on my list that I listened to 2017. I was
there you go.
He didn't necessarily make the cut, but it was a good album.
Yeah, no, and for me, there was no specific genre requirements. I listened to a lot of stuff, and one thing that I realized is my all-time list is actually very different from how my 2017 list is. Yeah. Mostly because most of what I listened to last year, for the genre of music that most people that already know me and know what I listen to a lot of, they might be surprised because there wasn't a lot of albums in like heavier rock, which is what I'm known for to listen to, that I really cared for as much. But there was a lot of hip hop and things on that side of the fence that I just could not stop playing. And so for me, when I was basically, gauging albums for whether I thought they were the best of the year, it was what was the replayability? What was, were there any tracks on there that I felt that stood out that immediately when I heard them, I was like, hold on, let me go back and listen to that again. So replayability and stuff that I felt that from top to bottom, because when I think of a good album, I don't need to be fast forwarding through tracks. So, whether it's a 24 track double album or whether it's a 10 track, whatever, if I could listen through it all the way and not feel the need to, this is the part of this album is lulling and I got to skip through. Those got a lot of consideration for me.
Yeah. Well, what about you? Like, what would be your criteria for a great album?
So, as a DJ, if you ever, so you want to become a DJ, right? One thing you'll find out is that you ruin your love for music immediately.
You told me that a couple weeks ago.
Dang.
But then you kind of retrain yourself to begin to appreciate it again. So when I listen to the curses, like when you first listen to music, you only listen to it in the mind frame of, will this work in a party? Does this jam? And then if it doesn't do that, then you kind of put it in a whole other category. So like what happens for me, like what I tend to listen to personally does not, doesn't always equate to what I'm going to play as a DJ. Because a lot of times I listen to stuff to escape the music that I have to play all the time. Not that I don't love those singles too. I love all that stuff. But for me, like what makes album of the year, I think also the idea of being able to play it all the way through. I like the idea of it being a complete body of work, not necessarily like a playlist or just a collection of singles.
Totally agree with that.
If you're telling a narrative, and if the production is cohesive, I think that's those are kind of my criteria.
Right. Okay.
Did you narrow it down to like one specific album that you thought was
overall
the best, or did you just?
No, I just did my top 5 of what I jammed.
Thank God.
Oh yeah, no, it was too much. Just one because
music trying to rank them once you got
music
there.
speaks so much different languages, so you can't narrow it down because it's all mood based too. So
True.
I will. So my first, we're probably gonna have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start with the obvious.
Okay.
And that's gonna be Kendrick Lamar's "Damn."
Whew.
Start to finish. It was even so good that you listened to it backwards. It was something completely different.
God, he put out 2 albums, man.
And
the album title, I think, is kind of what hit you. This is what you're going to get.
Right.
It's going to make you say this, then that's all you can say at the end of it, right?
The big thing for me was even before when he dropped the Heart Part 4.
Just the lead up.
Lead up. And then what was it? Humble that came out right before that, right before the album dropped. But the Heart Part 4, him actually just like spitting in there. And so I was like, this is the Kendrick that, I was like, if the album's going to be like this, son. Oh, and I remember I was up at midnight waiting for Spotify to reload to tell me that I could go and listen to it. And as soon as DNA kicked in, I was like, I just threw my hands up because I was listening to it in my headphones because my brother and one of his boys was over there playing video games, and they got 2K running or whatever, and I was like, no, you guys need to stop playing. You got to listen to this album right now. This is what we've been waiting for. That's how I felt.
Do you have a favorite track?
I like a lot. And that's the thing about being able to play through it all. But Loyalty might be my favorite track on the album. The Rihanna aesthetic, to me, that entire track. I remember, so I was in Hawaii during the summer. The album hadn't been out for all too long, and we were in this club, and Loyalty came on, and I went berserk.
Yeah,
people probably knew that I wasn't from around there at that point. I just started going nuts, and I remember for the next day and a half, I basically didn't have a voice because the dude, he played that after he had played DNA, and I was like, "This DJ is sick." Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know what the sample is for Loyalty?
I don't.
You will be surprised. You know what it is?
I didn't even look that up. I know there's something there.
Yeah,
but
there's something familiar, but I did not look that deep into it.
It's so crazy, especially like given the Grammys, and it's 24 Karat Magic.
What?
Really?
Yeah. That little part that goes tonight.
Oh,
it's just that backwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's so dope, man.
I'll play it for you after the thing.
So early?
Yeah.
That's
sick.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I mean, my standout tracks, definitely DNA, Element. I was at dinner around my parents humming Element, and I was like, I can't say the actual words out loud.
That's probably my favorite song to spin.
Yeah.
Element?
Is Element, yeah.
I mean, that Loyalty, Humble, Love, I really like. XXX, I really like.
Pretty much all. You're naming the track.
Yeah, we're going down. You're going right down the list.
No, that's the thing. Is like, because he had how many songs, and so many of them, I'm like, yo, I could just think about these on my own and be like, no, I need to listen to this right now, rather than wait to get to it in a track list. And
to put the album in the track, I mean, to list the tracks to a perfect T, to where you're already thinking about, if you play it backwards, it's going to tell a complete different story. Same songs, complete different story of how this album's supposed to be played out. It's just like,
and just so many layers. I mean, you like the whole concept of playing things backwards, and there's so many like backwards samples in that album that if you physically play it backwards, that you pick up on. That's how we pick up on that sample.
Right. That's
so it's not just playing the track list backwards. If you have the ability to go and listen to the record, like album in reverse, it's pretty crazy.
My main question was that him on the front cover of the album?
I think it was.
I mean, it looks like him, but then it could be like some additional stuff added to it. I think it's him, but it just looks like it's a bad angle.
That's not a to put in not an angle we're used to seeing Kendrick.
Right.
Did you all buy into that? The kind of marketing hype that the second album was coming, called Nation. Kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, me and Phil literally talked about that every day at work. Literally,
the album never came. What are you talking about? And then the article. Did you see the article?
There was an article. I can't remember which site it was off of. It might have been like Team Backpack or something. But they were like, "Yo, there is a second album, and it's if you listen to Damn Backwards."
Right.
And so then immediately I went and did that, and I told Phil, I was like, "Bro, this plays like a completely different album backwards. This is so sick.
Right.
Like, this is amazing." And listening to it forwards and then listening to it backwards and seeing how some of the stuff played out. Because there was stuff that I questioned listening to it the front ways, and it made so much sense listening to it in reverse order. And I was like, this is amazing. to think of everything this way and the way you're talking about constructing it. Yeah, that was dope.
The narrative of it really brought me back to Good Kid, Mad City, which was like the first. Like I wasn't on Kendrick on Section 80, or any of that stuff before. Like I heard Good Kid, Mad City first, and then went back.
No, that's it.
To
same
go
with
listen.
Me.
I'm
same
old. Like
me.
I wasn't giving any new rappers any.
That's same thing.
He's the first person that
I didn't get into Kendrick until I went and saw the Yeezus tour, and he opened up for Kanye, and I'm like, yo, this dude can spit. Actually, I take that. I started liking when Lloyd remixed Swimming Pools.
Yeah,
and I was like, it gave it a whole new, just like, okay.
You know what's crazy? You remember Sim, right?
Yeah.
So like in the Section 80 days, like Kendrick came to, I believe it was the U Street Music Hall, and performed there during Section 80, and Sim opened up for him. Like they got pictures. I've seen pictures of it and everything, and I was like, "Oh wow, Kendrick Lamar." And I just started seeing his name around, and I was like, "I'm not buying this record. He's an underground artist. Like I know nothing about it." I heard that song, what was it? Serial? What's the name of that?
Cartoons and Serial.
Yeah. And
that's actually that is my brother's favorite song off of the album.
I thought it was cool, but it wasn't like, I was a little older, so it just didn't
And
resonate with me.
brother's 4 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So.
It just didn't hit me like that.
And the voice inflections, I didn't really like the way he just...
It was different. But
yeah.
I think, for me, something that actually made that a little bit easier to start, like, dealing with, because... Before, I feel like most of the hot dudes had the same, like the same flow or cadences, the cadences and everything. Like everything was much harder. And then Drake popped up,
right?
And Drake does not have a traditional hip hop rap voice. And even though Kendrick, obviously, so like his verse on Control, which really I think blew him up. That the way that he spit that was something that resonates with people that like that harder flow. But on Good Kid, Mad City, that entire album, he had like doing the higher pitch stuff. It gave it a different feel, and it was something that, thinking back on it, I actually appreciate more.
And once I got into him,
how it built up the album,
I appreciate. Once I got into him, I was,
I remember like sitting in my living room and I played. I was just like, all right, Good Kid, man. Everyone's talking about it. People I respect, whose opinions I respect about the album. Just the day it came out, we're talking about it, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna get this dude a shot.
So
I just sat there, and I was just blown away.
I've listened to Good Kid, Mad City. I'm admit I listened to a bunch of times, but I never listened to from start to finish, just because I just picked and chose what songs I wanted to listen to. So recently, I listened to the whole album front to back twice to figure out.
And remember, the album stops at not Compton, but the song after the one with Just Blaze. That's the last song.
Yeah, and then it's like a couple bonus tracks after that. But then I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's a whole new interpretation of the album I never picked up on, because I would pick up at certain songs, they would play certain skits at the end. So what was your interpretation of what Good Kid, Mad City was about?
Oh no, it was about I think it worked on a few levels. So Good Kid, he's the good kid. Mad City is, South Central. So it's just about trying to navigate your way, through that, growing up, in that environment. But then it also works, I think, on a spiritual level too, because, they talk how they start out,
the Lord's Prayer.
Starts out praying.
And
right when, his friend gets killed, they go and, what I mean? The whole narrative behind it, like they go back and the woman, whoever they were talking, whatever woman they were talking to who told them to pray, that occurs at the end of the album. You know what I mean? And
so that's what I kind of picked up on. I felt like the album started, at least with the prayer, started towards the middle of the album. Almost like the way Damn does. But
it's a cycle.
Yeah, so it starts in the middle of the album. But the interpretation I got, because the skits infused it in for me, was he takes his mother's van and he picks up his boys, and they go around robbing people all night long until they get to the lady's house, and she saves them. And then the album takes a turn to where now he's appreciating life in the city, and the whole album just changes. And then that's when you start get Compton. That's how I felt, just because of the way. And I was like, damn, this is good.
And
What?
I think it was more than rock because they go at one, like Shireen's like one of
They're
the first
going-
songs.
yeah.
He going to go visit this
Yeah,
chick who
right,
doesn't
right.
know who lives in a rival gang territory area.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Risking his life for what I'm saying, some draws. But so you have all these different songs that have themes, swimming pools. You know what I mean? Alcoholism. You have all these themes that the songs in and of themselves are narratives, and then they fit into a larger narrative.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think Damn works basically kind of in the same way, not necessarily in a linear form, but just in a, the whole idea of kind of starting at the end.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was brilliant, I thought.
So what about you? What you got? Like, because did you have Damn on your list?
I definitely had. Damn was the first one I wrote down. That was very easy.
Okay,
to,
so we'll mark that off. Okay.
Very, very easy to come to a conclusion for me.
Okay, well, so give me one now. Throw that at me.
So the next one that I have written down was Big Fish Theory by Vince Staples. For me, from front to back, it's a different vibe from, I think, what a lot of people would have thought Vince would be coming out with. But, I mean, for me, there was a good mix of, he'd gotten into like some electronic type stuff. And then, but also having some really like bass heavy, like just bangers and stuff on there. So for me, from front to back, Vince Staples just in general is one of my favorite artists. The whole package that he brings, like some of the social commentary that he's not afraid. He's tell the president to suck a dick. That's one of his lines. So like he
is that pre or post Trump?
I think that was post. I mean, this is on this album, so yeah. And I think that because that's in Back. So listen, to, like, and so like and also when it comes to sports, the dude has like an insight on sports that I'm really interested in because it's so West Coast, and I've only lived on the East Coast, so there. For me, though, the entire album from front to back was killer for me. And highlight tracks, Big Fish to start, Love Can Be, that's got Ray J in it.
Because he doesn't list any of his guests.
Right, 745, which has 745 is just him. Samo is got ASAP Rocky on the hook, and Yeah Right, which is my favorite joint featuring Kendrick, and that joint just brings buildings down as far as I'm concerned. That song is so hot. It was one of my top 5 listened to songs in 2017 according to Spotify. So
did you rock that, any of those?
I do not have the album. I have a couple singles from the album, so I haven't actually heard the whole album, but I definitely think some of those jam.
I listened to it, like we talked about at work.
Right.
It's on. I wrote it down on the list as far as albums that came out.
Right.
Didn't make the top 5 because there was so many other things. But I definitely I do listen. I do rock to certain songs. There, so that's good though. We definitely have something different on our list.
Right.
I'm gonna go with another obvious. I think that all the true hip hop heads will have this one too. Is 444. I mean, you can't.
If you're a grown man, like you can't.
You can't deny that one. We've been begging for Jay to drop.
You got to be married and maybe have a kid in order to relate on that level,
right? We've been begging for Jay to drop something, another just dope album. And I mean, he's dropped some stuff here and there. I mean,
did you see that coming though?
That
subject matter.
So that was my question. Do you think that? I mean, obviously, it's all real life scenarios, but do you think it was a marketing scheme by both of them when they realized, what, let's just let's put ourselves out there. She's gonna do Lemonade, and then I'm gonna follow up with whatever may come. But we're gonna put it out there. We're gonna be.
I think it was calculated to some degree.
Because there's no way she dropped Lemonade and he did not know about it.
I don't know.
I'm gonna put it as real. I'll put it as real.
I think some of that stuff happened probably before they got married.
Yeah. There's some truths to it.
Right. I'm sure that, they're drawing on something there.
Right.
There's some source material there. I still find it, I mean, and also this is just because, you know, I'm just a regular dude. I'm not Jay-Z, so how can I imagine stepping out on Beyonce? Like, I can't imagine that.
Right.
You know?
I mean, a lot of people call him crazy for doing that. And then the fact that he is Jay-Z, I mean, a lot of this stuff, how does that happen without anybody knowing, anybody saying something?
Right. I mean, we got pictures of Kevin Hart in the back of the van, like, the night of. Right. So, you know, like, for real, if this kind of stuff, you know, if it was happening... Hey, for them to be able to then profit off of it,
why not?
Yo, they are the goats.
Why not?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the level of authenticity in the writing makes me think some of that stuff really happened. If not all of it, and then some of it is just things that you might just think about as a man, think through your decisions. You know what I mean? What are the consequences of if I do X, Y, and Z? You might not have to actually go out and do it, but if you even think through those things, that's the kind of you know, stuff that I feel like, you know, kind of came out of that album. And
the whole album is not based off of infidelity. It's it's just him
that's
opening up
song,
another door.
Exactly.
Because the smile about his mom coming out, that
true.
Yeah, it's all about just revealing, you know what I mean, that Jay-Z spent so long being guarded, being that kind of traditional street dude, you know what I mean? You can't really show your cards to really just kind of flipping that, and you know,
he's at a point where he doesn't like he can afford to let it all out.
Right. To me, this is the blueprint. You know what I mean? Like before, but this is the actual blueprint.
And he's not drug dealing anymore. We know that. I mean, he's just, you know, he's at the top of the pyramid of trying to, you know, people. That's the level people want to get to.
Yeah, and he's trying to help. You know what I mean? He's trying to show you how to do this, son. Like that. That's what he's doing.
Man, because I told you I've recently re-listened to the Carter 3 and Mr. Carter on there. He's basically like that was supposed to be like a handing of a torch to Lil Wayne, from Jay-Z to Lil Wayne.
He's been doing that for years.
Been doing that
he
for
did
so
that.
long.
He did that with Memphis Bleak. You know?
Some waves catch, some of it don't.
Exactly.
Birdman completely crashed Wayne's wave, or is crashing Wayne's wave to stop. I mean, because at this point, I mean, he can put out a mix. I really think that if Wayne were to drop something, he would have his core fan base.
I mean, he did Dedication 6 like that, but it's not resonating those things.
I don't think it's going to catch on with...
I mean, because he hasn't been able to do anything commercial since like Birdman's got all that stuff tied up. But so what was the mixtape that he came out with? What was it, 2 years ago?
I'm Not a Human Being.
Nah, it was after. I don't think it was Sorry for the Wait. There was something. Maybe that's what it was. But I remember it was on Spotify for a weekend, and I was jamming to it. And then all of a sudden, because of the lawsuits that were going on, like you could only listen to it on one of the other services. And I was like, damn, well, I don't pay for those. So there goes.
So are you? So okay, you're a streamer. Is that the only way you consume music now? Through that service, and if you can't get it there, you don't even check for it.
So I follow a lot of like music blogs, Twitter. So
you're not locked in. Then you're kind of up on the new stuff, but you might not purchase it unless it
Like I'll need to hear something.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like I used to be. It was really more mainstream stuff there, like especially when it came to like more poppy, even, you know, just general hip hop type stuff. For rock music back in the day, I used to feel like I had more of I would dive a little bit deeper, check out like the record labels, who they had, who was up and coming, things like that. But for me, in terms of how I consume, it's pretty much through all streaming and then all word of mouth in terms of how I'm going to get on to other newer artists, or if like to expect something new coming out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still any way I can get it.
Right.
I mean, I got the Tidal subscription. I mean, Rap Radar will point me in one direction to Dat Piff will give me some of the stuff that I may not hear, you know, on the radio, but
I don't have a Tidal subscription, so I'm missing like
you've missed
certain
tons
things. You know,
and
there's definitely stuff I'm missing because I don't have it.
Yeah.
Tidal at first, the only reason why I got Tidal subscription originally was because of the deal Prince had made with them to get the exclusive albums.
Right.
And then it just happened to be that there is a boatload of stuff that I forgot about on there, stuff that allows me to like listen to new artists. But I mean, it's the way that they have it set up is perfect, and I hope that it stays the way it is, and that one day Jay just decide to up and sell it, and then it becomes something completely different.
Right.
But what else you got on your list?
I mean, I could definitely.
Did you have 444 in there?
Nah. So here's the thing: since I don't got the title subscription, I've only got like.
Did I send you the link?
I've only got like one full listen through. So,
okay.
So I recognize it for what it is. But even to go, like Jay is not one of my like go to artists. I definitely appreciate what he means, and there's plenty of his stuff that I love to go back to and everything, but I don't get hype over Jay like I do like certain other artists.
Before you leave 444, I just want to talk about some of the production value on that. No ID did the whole thing. When you do listen to that, if you get a chance to re-listen to that album, you'll notice that I believe every 4 bars is different throughout the whole, every single song. Nothing repeats. There's no loops. Everything is kind of played real time, almost like a Jay Dilla kind of vibe to it. So that was something I found super impressive. And even the samples, this is just like Donuts. The samples have additional meaning to the song.
Yes.
So when you go and do the additional research, you'll be like, oh,
even the Stevie one, I didn't realize that was Stevie Wonder beginning to smile, and I was like, I've heard this somewhere before, and I couldn't remember. I was like, I can't remember what this is. And instead of going to who sampled, I eventually got back around because Songs in the Key of Life is on
That's the first
certain
song,
rotation, and I'm like, that's it right there.
Exactly.
That is it. That's the first thing of Songs in the Key of Life.
Yep. And what is the song? What is the key of life?
Is that
smile?
Wow, exactly.
You know what I mean? So
it's all
it's crazy, man. That kind of stuff is nuts.
Do you know why he called it 444?
Like that's actual artistry right there.
Yeah,
like this isn't just putting stuff out just to put it out. Like there's legitimate thought put behind all these different elements, and to me that kind of stuff blows me away.
Yeah.
Do you know why he called it 444?
Why?
You know why?
I know the story about waking up at 4:44.
Yeah, that was the first song he wrote, apparently, and it was at 4:44 in the morning. He woke up to write it.
Yeah. So I think No ID and Guru have a couple like additional stories around it. They definitely tried to like build it towards that narrative. And I believe like some of it's kind of true. Like he probably did wake up at 4:44, but it's not all, you know what I mean?
Right. There's
with that,
some fluff there, right?
Yeah. But no, I think, that sample, if you get a chance to listen to the 444 sample, I went and copped the whole album from that sample. It's crazy. I'll let you listen after it's over, man. That song is incredible. Just as like kind of, heart-wrenching is kind of listening to Jay-Z go through whatever he's talking about, his infidelity, that the sample source is also about infidelity, and it's a woman singing from her point of view. But that's the way she sings is crazy.
That's crazy.
Dope.
So definitely check that joint out.
Dope.
Got to.
Dope. Yeah.
Next one I have, I'll go with something that I know at least was in consideration for you. Don't know if it ended up in your top 5.
I know what you're about to say.
Big Crit, Forever is a Mighty Long Time. Same thing with Kendrick. Like I could just start naming tracks that were highlights, but I'd start going through the entire double album. So, that entire joint from beginning to end, and the fact that you got 2 different feels from both sides of the album, more of like the performer side and then the more personal side. But for me, there are some tracks on there that are just heavy in my just daily rotation, and it stood out to me.
Is it a task for you to listen to a whole double album? Like, how often do you go through that whole thing?
I don't even remember the last time anyone put out a double album that was like worth listening to anyways. So it was one of those things where for me, once, because I didn't listen to it right away. I heard a lot of stuff. People were shouting it out and everything. And I was like, all right, well, I like Big Crit. I hadn't heard anything from him since he was on the Rocky album and on One Train. Which he actually murdered everybody on there. And so I was like, all right, well, let me listen through. And it was on my way to and from work. I got through the entire thing, and like it didn't feel like a chore.
Remember I told you, I was like, yo, check this Big Crit out. Yeah. This thing is, this is the first Big Crit album I ever listened to. Yeah. I mean, I've heard songs that he was on.
Right. Same for me.
I think I just was like a down week for music, and it was the only thing that really got my eye that released on Tidal. So I listened to it and just like that southern like sound and just the beats. First of all, so if I can't get in, the beat is always sometimes, but if I'm not a fan of the artist, the beat is what's going to get me first.
Right.
Just by producing music anyway. And I'm like, yeah, well, this beat is sick. Let's see what he does with it, because I've heard a lot of people with great beats and they do nothing with it.
There's a lot of popular music that's exactly that.
Yeah, but that's because that's how it gets on the radio.
Right.
But as far as you said, listen to double albums. So I've listened to a couple of double albums, but there's one album that was released last year, had 60 damn songs on it. That was the Chris Brown.
I think E40 does that kind of stuff
Heartbreak
too.
on a Full Moon.
Yeah.
And I want to know if any Chris Brown fan is listening. Once we put this comment and let me know if you actually listen to the whole album. 60 songs, because
you need to find a hobby.
60 songs. Can you give me at least? And it all depends on certain albums, certain artists. But can Chris Brown give me 60 songs on one album that's complete?
He's gonna argue that he can. I know that for
that's
a
why
fact.
he did it, right?
He's gonna argue that he
It's
can.
like, name a song title from that album. That's the challenge.
Bro,
Yeah.
I got none.
You know what I mean?
I got none of them. But I'm also, I'm not out here jocking Chris Brown.
Right.
So I root for Crit. I bought Cadillactica. I bought Live from the Underground. I did not buy, the last one because I'm kind of anti double albums because I just feel like, give me the best material. Do it in 10 songs. Damn.
Right.
It's a perfect example of that. Just give me your best 10 because that's what you're going to remember anyway. Even if you give me 25 tracks,
True.
I'm going to remember the ones that jam.
So Blueprint 2 was a double album.
It should have been one.
And
Guru says that. He says that was my mistake. I should have made it one album.
And that's I said a lot of times with the artists who get double albums, and there's a lot of tracks they don't feel like they can't let go, and it doesn't necessarily fit the mold of the album, but it's also like I can't let it go either.
But it's also a thing of they're trying to live up to Pac and Big. You know what I mean? That's also there. Okay,
so let's speak on that. Life After Death was a double album, and I can rock that joint from start to finish every single time I listen to it.
Right.
Just because
you don't have any more albums from him. That's why.
Well, that's probably why
he was dead.
And
he was dead when it came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I remember, when after Biggie died, and they started leaking early they had the early Notorious Thugs. I believe it had Notorious Thugs, More Money, More Problems, and Hypnotized was the official single, but they had those other two, and they used to play them, random times during the day on like KYS and on WPGC, and I was like glued to the radio. It was in the summertime.
I'm trying to tell you, I didn't hit record. I used to record radio to get to this.
I was listening all day for that week when they were playing those songs. I was not doing anything away from a radio that entire time.
Sad part, social media and internet is taking that feeling
yeah.
away.
Right.
But I remember tuning into the radio, just waiting for. I know my jam is coming up.
They said they're playing at this hour. They said,
and it was like that back then. They didn't make they used to make it. They didn't have the clean version of it. They would just have the little ish. That was like what you heard. So you didn't even know all the words to it yet. Like,
he's like, what is he really saying right here?
Right.
You making up what
those
you really
niggas that love the bus don't scream. That whole line was like drip, 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 drip. But he was still jamming to it. Like, exactly.
Double Art of War was a double album. Bone Thugs.
Wu-Tang Forever.
Wu-Tang Forever. Pac's All Eyes on Me.
You realize what era of music we're talking about?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Like, there's been nothing recently.
I'm sure Migos going to do a double album. So
I'm sure.
I mean, so if we're just going to touch real quick on the culture too, there is one track on there that I bang with a lot, and then it's 19, 20 other tracks. So
that's the DJ in me though.
Stir Fry is Pharrell, right?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Like, but for me, listening through it a lot, like it almost sounds like it's just one song the entire album.
Exactly.
But, that's their aesthetic, and that works for them.
Yeah.
But there's one track off of Culture 2, which is heavy in my rotation. Mm-hmm. But other than that,
what is the track? Peep it.
Because right now I'm drawing the blank, even though it's Don't
worry about it. Yeah.
No, so while you look, I'm gonna follow up with Amigos thing real quick. Would you give Donald Glover credit for why the Migos
for Bamboozle?
For why they even got
shouted them out?
Yeah.
No, because Versace, they have for the broader culture, yes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But for me, like Migos was already
right. I got you.
Migos was Future was already taking on Future, probably overtaking Future now. You know what I mean? So I think the streets did that. You know what I mean? Right. I can't say Donald Glover did it, but he probably put people on who
I think he put a whole new
been aware before.
Exactly.
He put a whole new market onto it because he said it at the Emmys.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
Right. You said it was Open It Up.
Open it up. Like that joint. It's right before whatever their terrible single is that's out with Nicki and Cardi are in that too. But it's not any slight to them, but the chorus for the single is god awful. Mm-hmm. Motorsport, Motorsport.
That's everywhere right now.
God dang it, man!
That song is everywhere. Right
now. It's everywhere.
That's what's catchy right now.
But that's that doesn't speak to me
exactly.
So but credit. I mean, they're obviously doing big things because there's people that like that. So whatever.
I'm gonna change it up real quick for the next one.
Right.
Because we've seen it be hip hop based. I mean, it's still hip hop based somewhat.
Yeah.
Miguel's War and Leisure. That was, to me, Miguel's always been one of my favorite artists, but this album, I mean, again, start to finish, I don't think there's been a skip in there whatsoever, but to me, it was dope. I mean, you got the Skywalker, which simplistic song, and you got Travis Scott on there. Like, wow, okay, it's just basic. I mean, there's nothing, there's no levels to it. It's a basic song people can play at a party.
But it works exactly.
It works
at a party.
Yeah. But then when you get into the deeper aspect of the album, like more and more songs, like the intro, "Criminal" with Rick Ross, it's ridiculous.
Is the joint with J. Cole on it? I don't have the album.
Yes, Come Through and Chill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and Cole's
that's Salam Remy, I believe.
I think that's because he's listed on the track too.
Yeah.
So an honorable mention. I thought that For Your Eyes Only was 2017 because that definitely made the list, and that was late 2016.
Okay, and so just like 2014 came late.
Yeah.
That came late 2016.
Yeah. So For Your Eyes Only was honorable mention because
it definitely took some research to figure that out.
I like the other songs though that didn't make the album better than I like Everybody Dies and what's the other one?
The ones that didn't. Yeah,
that didn't make that album. I feel like those are better than any song on the album, but I understand why they didn't make the album just for the cohesiveness part of it.
Because Everybody Dies when he was talking about all the younger hip hop joints, but then he had the other one, False Prophets.
Yeah, False Prophets. There you go.
Talking about Kanye, talking about Wale, and I still don't know who the third verse was about, but All right, War and Leisure.
Right. One that I definitely know that you don't have on here was 12 by A$AP 12y.
Okay.
The grittiness of it, and it felt like an older album. It felt nostalgic. Listened to a lot of stuff. They had some stuff that was definitely like Cash Money, Hot Boys influenced. There's obviously some stuff that's just actually really like New York that's in there. But I mean, couple tracks on there that I really really like. Hop Out, which is featuring A$AP Ferg. Diamonds, which has Rocky on there. Strapped and Last Year Being Broke. Those are joints that definitely stood out to me on that joint. And I know it's not a whole lot of people are familiar with the Mob, but you know, outside of Rocky and Ferg, I don't know who actually a number of people that actually listen to the other dudes. And 12's album last year was
really. I'm
was
gonna
dope.
check that out.
Was dope.
I'm a fan of both of them, and I haven't really checked out 12y much, but I love Ferg.
I think 12y's flow out. So I listened to Cozy Tapes Volume 2 was also last year, and I figured out that. So when the first Cozy Tapes came out, I was like, basically, if Rocky was in the song was going to be dope.
Rocky's
then
dope.
for the second volume, I realized that the songs that I really liked had 12E in them, and he was an integral part for why I like. My favorite song off of Cozy Tapes 2 is Coziest, which is only 12E. It might as well have been on his album. And I was just like, actually, for whatever reason, I really like this dude's flow. I like and their beats. They always get on like really interesting and fun beats and stuff too. So that was one that stood out for me for sure.
I have to commend you because everything you named, I don't know how you're not walking around more aggressive and ready to kill or fight somebody after listening to all that. But you're super calm,
Right?
Like you're always mellow. You don't call like at work. You just chill. And I'm like, I know it's banging in your headphones, and I know it's banging in the car. And I'm like, this dude, it's like a Chick-fil-A worker. Like I know these dudes are off the clock. They got to be cussing out somebody or throwing hands at somebody. But yeah, I give you credit for that.
I mean, dude, because even like I'm in a heavy metal band, man. Like
That's true,
you know,
too.
I'm into like I want energy a lot of the times. The you know, like Diamonds, for example, on 12, it's a lot. It's got a different feel. It's a lot slower. But because I need a break every once in a while from the high energy, high octane, just all the bass bumping, like all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that for me personally, that song stood out because it's different from necessarily what I normally listen to tempo wise. But yeah, I mean, music's an escape, right?
Right. I'm gonna go with. So I was for my fifth. I mean, I still got another one, but when I got down to my last one, and I had to figure it was between two because I had one, and this is the honorable mention gonna go to Vic Mensa because I've been waiting for.
That's an honorable mention for me too. And
waiting
you put me onto
for
that, and you put
Vic
me
to
onto
drop. Mixtape wise, Vic was hot. I mean, the stuff he did with Kanye with the Wolves, and it's like, yo, Vic is dope. So Autobiography is definitely. Did you listen to that, Marcus?
Yeah, previewed, but I didn't buy it.
It's, you know,
Vic streamed it, of course.
Yeah, I know who Vic is, though. Yeah.
And then Vic is on some. I mean, he got a little bit of rock on it. He's got
And I
a little
told you
bit of,
when we were talking about it, because you were the one that put me on. I was like, I liken it to Kanye with a guitar, like with an electric guitar.
Is he an executive producer on that?
Kanye.
Yeah.
He was definitely on the manuscript, which is the one of the mixtapes that dropped. But on this one, I think Kanye's got maybe like a couple of ghost things going on there.
Okay.
You could tell, but it's got a good feel to it. I mean,
And I was like, I don't know if it's a Chicago feel that I'm getting, or if this is actually like just a Kanye feel to it. But with Vic being from there too, you know.
And Vic's earlier stuff, because he comes from that whole Chance to Rap. They went to school together. They come from the same clique.
Right.
I can only imagine. I mean, they were beefing for something, but they fixed it, fixed their issues. And
they kind of seem like two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? To me, like
I would love to hear what they got going on together.
Right.
That they
a project between the two, or even just one song or whatever that'd be real interesting for me.
So that was the honorable mention, but the other one that I'm choosing over that is the NERD. No One Ever Really Dies.
Okay.
It's start to finish. Again, you've got the whole Lemon with Rihanna. Never heard Rihanna rap like that before, and I'm like, if that's Pharrell coaching through the rap, she did a good job. The beats, I mean, Neptunes was my first producers that I really banged with when I started making music. I was
probably the first producers that I even became conscious of.
Really?
Because before, when I was younger, didn't really pay attention to who was producing the music, and then it was NERD because it was Pharrell, and it was like, wait. And they had the whole rock aesthetic to it too, so that stood out to me.
Right.
I was like, I can't be you. I'm not a rock star. I need to do that.
But and then when you start following Pharrell, you realize, I mean, him and Chad, just the whole, they were Virginia Beach, like Timberland, Missy, like that.
Teddy Riley,
like when he wrote
Rump
Teddy,
Shaker,
Rump Shaker, like you're like,
yeah,
what? Like it's just so funny. It just the chance that people give each other, and then
SWV he did.
What's that one?
Blah blah blah. Open your heart, not your mind.
Yeah,
that joint.
That one. But Mace was like, I gave Pharrell, Pharrell brought in
Why you over here?
why you, and then people were clowning him in the studio. Like, who's this dude with like camo and like pink and all that? Like, get this dude up out of here.
Then Nori came.
Then Nori dropped. Nori was the
That was the floodgates.
Super Thug.
Yes,
oh my
that
god!
opened the floodgates, man.
And then everybody wanted to have that sound.
Yep.
So yeah, every album that any artist put out, they take long enough for you to be like,
they definitely
to want it.
They built up a weight for
and
sure.
you're like, here we go.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like I was telling you about this when I was over here last time, that this is the first time they only listed Pharrell as executive producer. It wasn't the whole Pharrell and Chad, and it wasn't but Chad does get production credit to him, like song tracks. But as far as album wise, maybe
Shay.
Pharrell put it.
Is Shay on the album?
Yeah, Shay. I mean, he's got a couple. It's a little lack of Shay too. So I feel like Pharrell probably did it, sent it out, and then maybe you could tell certain things they were in the studio together just because of the vibe. But yeah, that made the list.
That was an honorable mention.
They got Andre 3000 on it. They got Kendrick on there. I mean, just like
I need to actually listen to the album. That's one album I haven't.
And it's the sound. Like every time you listen, the sound is like different. Like okay, I feel the sound. It's a chill. You can work out to it.
Yep.
Or you can chill to it. What you got?
So this is my fifth one here.
Because I got.
And I don't know if this is cheating or not. But Fabulous and Jadakiss.
I was about to say.
That was my fifth.
I'm like,
I was saving that.
I was literally scrolling past it like no one said this shit.
Friday on Elm Street. From front to back. We're talking about energy.
On the intro.
We're talking and the thing is so and me and Phil talk about this all the time at work and everything is, for me, when it comes to rap and hip hop, and I guess I would consider it more hip hop. Like, I want lyricists. I want dudes with punchlines. I want some witty stuff going on. I don't just want ad libs. And two of the best. And I've always
underappreciated.
For me, and I told Phil this before. Like, to me, all time, Jadakiss is one of the most underrated ever.
Right.
And because Fab has had Fab's been the dude before, or at least close to the top as being like one of the dudes, and I don't feel like Jada's ever gotten that kind of play in the same way.
I feel like it's a curse of being in a group because you kind of he is not Michael Jackson of the Locks.
Right.
Styles and all three of them can get busy, and so it makes you think that he's not as brilliant as he actually really is, man. Like no, Jada is.
It's one of those things where you have they don't get the spotlight, the shine.
They don't even seek it though,
Right.
And that's right, because you're either a fan or you're not. Like so you either know what they're dropping or you don't.
I love the Locks, man.
And to me, like Fab's commercial albums are never really on point or as great as his mixtapes.
But
his mixtapes. Soul tapes, the
joints he were putting out with Clue over the before, like this is probably summer of 2015.
The summer joints.
Yeah, that him and it was going back and forth with somebody. Every week they were putting out. Clue was with, and then Envy was with somebody else, and I can't remember who it was. But they were going back and forth every Friday releasing the track, and all of them joints were fire.
To me, an intro has to pull you into the album.
Yeah.
And this, when I tell you the intro, maybe
it's smooth, man. Killed that joint, man.
The just Fabulous is I don't know who got who on the intro because Jada comes with a little more grimy, part of it. But
and breaking down the beats themselves. He's using Freddie samples from the movie,
oh my God.
Jason samples from the movie. They had him replayed because apparently they couldn't even get it cleared. That's why the album's not called Freddie versus Jason.
Right. You had to.
Cinema wouldn't release the rights.
Yeah, I mean, you look.
They got creative with it, though.
Yeah. Because you look at the early, the early media for it, and it was all Freddie versus Jason.
Exactly.
And then when it actually came out, they had to be a little bit more creative with it. But dude,
still
from
brilliant.
Front to back, I was like, this.
Right.
I got all old man and crotchety.
Exactly.
I was like, this is what the young kids are missing.
This is it right here.
This is what hip hop's been missing.
I was like, this is hip hop.
Right.
The fact that Swiss
Yeah, man.
But Swiss is all over it for
Right.
the most
Oh
part.
yeah.
There's
There's a lot
music.
of people that what is it? Theme song or
Theme music.
Like there's a lot of people that's their favorite track on the joint.
I
Marvin
Pray.
Gaye.
That I Pray joint is
Soul Food.
Yeah.
Principles. Just the one-liners. You know what I mean? In there, I'm trying to think of some lines that Jada just comes out with, and it's just like, yo, like, I wish I had prepped for this show. I had them for you.
Well, in the intro, Fab is like, all of a sudden, Thunder, it might have been Hoodie Mello.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Exactly.
And the thing is, Mello hadn't been on the Thunder for like more than a couple months or something.
Like,
I was like, oh, this is sick.
Exactly.
Right. And then when he wrote it, I mean, before we heard it, it probably was just like that. I mean, it's getting real spooky out here. All the hood niggas that turn pookie out here. New Jack City, okay. Like, whew, like, two different sharpest MCs,
right.
And you can't. I mean, one's not better than the other because one's gonna give you a whole. It's like it's a perfect combination, almost like the Watch the Throne.
Right.
Jay and Kanye complement each other. Jay's gonna give you some street. Kanye's not street, but he's gonna give you swag. He's gonna give you But yeah, these dudes right here, just
I actually really like Jada Kiss's last album too, Top 5 That Are Alive.
That was with the gold cover, right?
How long ago was that?
I'm trying to find it now.
That may have been 16.
That's funny.
I think it's 15 or 16.
Because I definitely did pick out my favorite lyric from last year, just in general. Was because it was from the Vince Staples album from Big Fish. He's got this one line where he goes, "Swimming upstream while I'm trying to keep my bread from the sharks makes me want to put the hammer to my head." And I was like, damn. Okay.
Yes.
I was like, this kid,
that's pretty dope.
because he's still a kid. I was like, yo, this dude, he can go. And so that was in the beginning of the year, and then the year wrapped up for me basically with, the Fabulous and Jadakiss joint, Friday on Elm Street. So, it was killer to me. Like, especially, and that's no pun intended for that album too. But that was super dope. That's heavy on they got tracks that are heavy on my gym playlist, my workout playlist.
Now there's so that I guess that wraps up top 5. There's a couple of other albums that were released last year. Was Logic. Logic definitely put himself in a commercial.
Shout out Gaithersburg High School.
There you go. Right, puts himself in a commercial aspect. With the Black Spider-Man on there was probably my favorite, even though it's an album of good stuff. What else did I have? This is my honorable mention, which I thought, again, this was what threw my list off because I swore I had my top 2. One was For Your Eyes Only, and then Marcus knows this one I'm about to say now is Gambino's.
That dropped in 16.
Which one, Gambino?
Incredible.
Gambino's,
Awaken My Love.
Awaken My Love.
Right.
That joint was brilliant.
Because I think initially when we were talking about it, you had those two penciled in.
Yeah, that was it. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you're like, definitely. And then we went back and looked, and we're like, actually.
It came out like December 9th, 2016.
I remember waking up that morning. I saw on Instagram Questlove post about the album, and I was like, "Damn, that's a dope album cover." And I was reading about it, so I just went ahead and downloaded it because I'm like, I wasn't a fan of Childish Gambino's rap stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't expecting what happened, and I just started listening to the joint, and literally it brought tears to my eyes, just how well it was produced and what the music was about. That I did not send it to them.
We were all group chatting.
I was like, "Go get this
Atlanta's
right now!"
Right.
Right. Well,
no, it was already out, and that's what the crazy part is this dude just produced probably the best thing on television.
and he's got his incredible album.
Yes, man, Atlanta is so far over people's heads. It's dope concept. I mean, to the point where it's funny too. If you Visible Car, episode
episode with the joint with the talk show.
Oh my God!
And then the commercials. He's got one episode where the commercial. I was like, because I was watching it and I'm like,
that was actually tripping me out because that is one of the joints that I've seen.
Exactly. I'm like, why is Hulu or whatever? Why are they serving me this ad? This is fucking racist. Like, why? Is it? And I was like, oh shit, it's part of the show.
Part of the show. Yeah, way over everybody's head. Like this is. Part season 2 coming out soon too, and esteemed Robin season. I'm just like, okay, I'm I'm waiting for it. And he said his next album will be his last. Everybody, when they get big, they're like, oh, the next one's my last.
You can't live up to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the expectations. So.
I think that's what got Lauryn Hill too. Part of it is putting out a great album. How you can't follow it up. And she can't even play the music from Miseducation when she performs live.
Because she doesn't have the rights and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. So she has to do. Did you hear that? She has to play like every song.
Wyclef has the rights, basically.
Whoever owns it is not letting her perform it live. Okay. So she has to have all new melodies. So people don't recognize them when she performs it live. So,
I mean, those aren't the songs that they remember, you know.
Right.
So,
did you have any more albums?
No, that was my top 5. Right. But then I put down, just a couple other things that were like a disappointment. I will say my disappointment was Eminem's Revival.
I didn't have high hopes for that.
I think my issue with that was he did it to where he changed voice inflections again, but that wasn't okay. That was fine. Rapping style is fine. We just felt like every song was trying to be a big stadium closer anthem type thing. He
wants them to work live.
He had a bunch of female singers, which nothing against that because of the whole Me Too movement. But he had Alicia Keys, he had Pink, he had Beyonce, and it was just all like big stadium anthems. Just like, dude. And the only song I could mess with on that one was Framed because it takes you back to classic. And I know we have to all evolve, but
right.
Whew.
Yeah.
That was a disappointment. Well, it was all right, but surprising, decent album is Sia's Christmas album. I didn't even find it, but that was actually a dope Christmas album. Because Sia's on point, and then to hear her
is crazy.
No, I mean, she's super talented. I don't like listen to any of her stuff. Like go out to and seek it, but the stuff that I get to hear, I mean. There's a reason why
so I hear that stuff all the time.
She can sing her ass off.
Yeah.
Even if you can't see her face.
As far as did you have any requests for people to play songs that one or two stood out that everybody wants to hear this song and this is like the most popular?
I mean, Bruno Mars. That's you know what I mean. Bruno Mars. That's what I like. Like guaranteed to play that. And then what's cool about that song is it works in every audience. I can play it. I shouldn't be playing it for kids, but I do, and they know the words. Right. They know the words to it. You know what I mean? It works in all crowds. And you just end up playing it all the time. And actually, I can't say I've gotten tired of that song. Like it's just a dope song. Like you can't really.
I was upset Jay got snubbed for a couple Grammys, but I realized
why. Yeah,
I realized he got honored the night before.
Right.
And that Bruno's album was a pretty dope album. It was,
but I think there's some, there's the subject matter in Jay-Z's album, and the things he's talking about is not, I don't think something like that was going to get. Yeah.
I was rooting for Gambino the whole time, and it was safe. They gave it away. He was the safest person.
I mean, weren't there only like 9 tracks on that album or something on Bruno's album? So one of my buddies brought this up to me. He was like, "Man, yeah." So Migos comes out with this album that's like 1 billion tracks long, and the album of the year, last year it had like 9 tracks on it.
They keep attention.
It's not the track length; it's the quality of
the album. Didn't come out. Was that 16?
Yeah. Childish Gambino?
No, Bruno. Bruno came out early 16, and the fact that it was still
because every song. I mean, that album is basically like Janet Jackson Control.
You can put the entire song on the Hot 100.
But even for the Grammys to have it on their consideration list, like it
had to have fit some time consideration.
Yeah. And I do appreciate the fact that he acknowledged like Teddy Riley, basically who we themed the album after it. Mm-hmm. So for that, I thought that was dope to give them the kind of babyface Teddy Riley. And I'm blanking on the other Terry Lewis,
Jimmy Jam.
I thought that was dope.
He's strong with the Filipino power, so that's why I mess with Bruno. That's dope.
No, I mean he's super. I mean he writes fantastic music. You know what I mean? From
the album
the
came
stuff
out,
he did with CeeLo and all that.
November 18, 2016.
Wow.
So it had to have been at the end of the cycle to be considered.
Yeah. I mean, I dare anyone tell me like what's the bad song on the album. Like pretty much every joint on it.
Right.
Right.
And Finesse had already been released, and then he
then
decided to come back and give it to
Cardi.
Cardi.
And I would
got
play that
Cardi
song.
on the remix.
Nobody was checking for that though. Like when I used to love that joint. I loved like New Jack Swing and just playing that. But when I would play it, it wouldn't resonate with people. But once Cardi got on it, it started ringing.
It brought it back to life, and then the video to follow it, like the Unlimited Colors, like
dude,
that's why you can't. I mean, Cardi's a star, man. Like, whether you like her or not, like she's a star.
Me and my brother were talking about this recently. He was like, honestly, we're actually at a poker game. We're at a table. We got like 8 other dudes with us playing cards, and my brother was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna throw this out here. I think Cardi B is the best female in the game right now." And so, of course, people were like, "Oh, well, Nicki," and he's like, well, what's Nicki doing right now? Because I know Cardi's got 3 top 10 hits right now, and so I'm just saying, like, and for right now. And his argument was, what is what's actually being better than somebody? Like, what is that? Because that is subjective. Right. He was like, to me, personally, if you're getting the plays and all that, that means you're hot, right? And
so Cardi's a star. I can't. That's a relative term. No, but one album y'all didn't bring up, which I thought y'all would, was Rhapsody's album, which was it's probably neck and neck with Damn and 444, in my opinion. Like
Rhapsody, Knife Wonder, man.
And Rhapsody is a beast. Like, I will say, like, I wasn't like she used to kind of put me to sleep, kind of in the same realm that J. Cole does for a lot of people. But she's just like, she's a monster lyrically. Like, I can't. There's not many people you could say is going to outright Rhapsody. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I definitely want to give it. I've listened to it a few times.
I got to give it more listens, for sure.
It's just, I don't know. It's on the list. It was one of the. I don't know how to put it as an honorable mention, but it was definitely a dope album.
Yeah. A couple of joints I'm just going to rattle off real quick. Gold Link's album.
You know what? And
PG County representative.
There you go. Right?
But I thought that joint was pretty dope. Pete Rock and Smoke Dizz's album, Don't Smoke Rock. That was good. Tribe.
Was that last?
That was like November, December.
That was that whole that was.
It came out It came out the day that Dave Chappelle did SNL.
Right.
That was after Trump. That was after the election.
Right after the election.
Yeah.
They got snubbed.
Calvin Harris sung about that album was really good, like for just a summertime like ride music. What else did I have? Those are it.
Oh yeah.
The only one that I'll end on, and this is completely different genre, but this goes back to high school Chris and the stuff that got me into like heavier rock music. But Glassjaw put an album out this last year, December 1st, and it had been like 15 years since their last album.
Wow.
And so for me, going back and hearing this stuff that just took me right back to high school and all that kind of stuff, I was like, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't one of my top 5, but it was definitely one that I paid attention to and one that I was looking forward to once I heard that it was coming out. So
man, I don't know where to go to get good rock music anymore. Like it's crazy, like how it's just because it's not popular. It seems it's been pushed down. You know what I mean, by other genres, and I miss like HFS. Like that's where I got put on to a lot of like alternative.
Dude, back
music.
in the day when HFS was still around, they would play Eminem and Jay-Z along with all the other rock
Beastie
music
Boys
and stuff.
And everything.
It was dope. It was. I was like, this is the perfect station for me because they're going to play everything that I want to listen to.
Yep.
But it's funny because the aesthetic, like the like emo kid aesthetic that is really, I guess it's basically looked upon as kids from that scene is now what these like emo rappers are embracing, and it's one of those things, like it's kind of resurfacing just in a different, but instead of kids listening to My Chemical Romance, they're listening to
Young Thug or something.
like those dudes and stuff. So it's one of those things how the like some of the material in terms of what they're talking about is starting to resurface just in a different genre. So
I mean, Incubus put out an album. Incubus is one of my top groups, and it was a disappointment for me they switched it up a little bit, and you got more of a studio sound than a instrumental sound. And I was like, I mean, it's okay. It's not better than what they've done before. But,
Right.
I mean, I think this is a great topic to pick for the first go around because we found a subject matter we can talk about and put out. So we're gonna do top 5 Lifetime next time, or we'll just mix that whenever.
I mean, that's at least something that we've already started working on. So we could do that. We could switch it up,
and we could switch to a different topic next time since it's not all about music. And we can some serious subject content going and stuff to make you challenge.
Touch on maybe some current events or something like that, just a little bit.
And we'll put the social media out once we get it finished.
Right.
So we'll hopefully have a little audience chime in and say what they want us to talk about.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a success.
I believe so too. Thank y'all for listening, man. We are something else.
Definitely.
Thank you, Supa Fly TnT for hosting it.
Hey, salute to y'all, man. Just keep doing what you're doing.
All right.
Great show.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.